Okay, here's the burn barrel set up for the freeze Saturday night. We got one right here, as you can see, for this Kiet mango. One right here. This will also help out the Kiet, but it'll hit the Kent as well. And then this one between the two trees will help both of those. And then there's one back there on the south side of the tree. Hopefully that'll be protected from the wind, so it can help heat up the south side of this Glen mango. And this one right here, the Glen. And then this one over here, also for the Glen. I'm trying to protect it the most. It's the best tree out of all of them. And yeah, they'll be kind of close, so we'll get a little bit of burnt from the heat on them and stuff. I don't expect, these flowers got beat up probably pretty good. I could see some drooping up there from the last freeze that we had a couple nights ago. So I'm gonna, after this freeze, I'm gonna prune all the flowers off and let it rebloom. Mangoes are notorious for reblooming, so that's my setup. I don't think I'm going to do anything for the big lychee trees. I think they should be good. So, yeah. The lychee trees are just going to have to show us how tough they really are. And that's it over on this side. Okay, we're setting up smudge pots over in this area of the food forest to protect these trees. You see one right here, there's one right there, and there's one over there on the other side of that tree. I'll show you in a second. But this one right here will help protect. It'll get some heat over the starfruit. Starfruit's pretty tough, so it may not really need it, but the Barbados cherry can benefit from some heat. The green sapote, especially on this side. We got some fruit in here I'd like to get. There's 3 of them. Not ready yet. And one right there. So this will help get some heat for this area. And you can see it's pretty compact in here. There's a lot of starfruit. We just picked a bunch of it too. It's crazy how much that produces. And here's this one. It's kind of far away from the green sapote and the sapodilla, but we got this one right there, smaller one, to help the sapodilla if it needs it. Sapodillas are pretty tough too, so I don't know. I don't even know if I'll end up using these, but I want them set up. But this one will also offer some extra heat in this particular area. I don't plan on doing anything for the macadamia nut tree. It's pretty big and they're pretty tough trees. So I don't plan on doing anything for that. And over here, the jackfruit tree. It got beat up a little bit in we had an 8-hour freeze the other night. And 2 of those hours were at 29 degrees. Early in the morning, so, and it's obviously going to survive that, but it's got some, there's some leaf burn on it, but really not too terribly bad. But I'm basically leaving this tree to live or die. I'm not doing anything with it because it's been doing so poorly, and I'm like, I can just get a new seed and start over.
I forgot to turn on the recorder, the camera. I just installed this post along the tomatoes so that We have some bracing for the wind because it's supposed to get windy Saturday night into Sunday morning along with the freeze. So I don't know if the tomatoes are going to last or make it through this freeze, but I want to try. So because it's windy, it's going to be windy, I wanted to post some stakes for extra support for the blankets and the tarp, and hopefully that'll help. And along here, I put a stake here to brace this against. I'm gonna tie it for extra support. I just kind of went along here. The wind is going to be coming out of the north, so I put it on the north side of the plants. The stakes are not as tall as I wanted them to be. I did have a couple of tall stakes in the barn, so I used one here for these taller plants that are definitely taller than these smaller stakes. Hopefully that will suffice. I'll check with Corey to see if he thinks I need to add more stakes. If so, I will do so. If I need to add taller ones, I'll have to run to Home Depot and get more. We're out here Friday afternoon getting burn barrels ready for Saturday night's freeze. Corey's brought over a lot of wood that we had stockpiled from after we downed trees. Got a bunch of cardboard, brush, another pile of wood.
Hey, on it.
Hey. I'm showing that you're preparing the burn barrels.
We're getting ready for our big bonfires.
Kind of explain what they're gonna do.
Well, mixing wood and this brush and cardboard in here to be able to get the fire started. These can be a little bit of a pain getting them started, but once they're started, you can just keep loading the big wood in here and keep the fire going. And there's enough heat given off to get into the tree here and keep it from freezing and dying. You never know. Right now the forecast, it keeps flipping back and forth between 27 and 28 for the low, but lately the forecasts have been all over the place and missing by quite a bit. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see 25 or 24 degrees, which has the potential to, depending on how long it lasts, to kill a mango this size, potentially. And so we're just trying to save the tree. The bloom on it is going to be, it's already doing, it's getting beat up from the last. You can see the drooping and stuff like that. It's quite beat up from the last freeze. Up there you can see them, they're drooping around, and so all this bloom is pretty much fried from the last freeze. And you can see some of the leaves turning brown from the last freeze on the outside edge. It's not terrible, but mostly just cosmetic. But the good thing is these mangoes they'll rebloom. Now you can see these are good because they were kind of protected. You can see how nice and bright they are out here. You can see the color difference.
Right,
that's fried.
Kind of burnt looking as opposed to the bright, even down here, the bright green.
If we save enough of the tree, it'll just rebloom.
Cool.
So it's not a big deal.
It's nice and sunny out here today. Really nice and warm. What I'm going to do to try to protect the rest of this basil that did not get frozen is I'm going to take just a hemp string from a spool at the craft center section at Walmart. I'm going to tie it up just so that I can get it small enough in circumference to where I can put a tomato cage around it. I don't want to cut this dead stuff off yet because I'm thinking it may continue to add protection to the part that's alive, that hasn't been fried, and that between this side on the outside of the house and the house itself, there will be some protection there. Now, as with the other one, I'm going to take these stakes here and stake this down around the bottom because it's supposed to get really windy and I don't want to risk it falling over. We'll see. Hopefully it will keep it from falling over, but I've also pulled the mulch back and twisted this into the ground. Once I put these stakes on, I'm gonna just put the mulch back. And then I will end up covering this with a blanket and a tarp combination, most likely. So this blew my mind. I showed you earlier that it has some new green growth under here, and I want to protect that. So one of our subscribers suggested that I cover it with Spanish moss to protect it from the freeze. So I guess tomorrow night, before the freeze, I will be coming out here and covering these with the Spanish moss and see how that does. We think it's a really great idea, so thank you for that suggestion. I have another blew my mind over there, and I've also put a pile of Spanish moss beside it. So that is what we're gonna do for these, and hopefully they'll come back in all their vigor and glory, because these are just really pretty flowers, blue flowers all over the place. I don't think I'm going to do anything with this lemongrass. I think it's going to do okay. It's got enough bulk to it where I'm not going to worry about it. This over here by the blew my mind, this stuff is nice and hardy. It's green. I'm not going to worry about it. So I think this is catnip, if I remember correctly. I put my markers in all of these, but it seems that they've gotten lost in the mulch somewhere. Okay, here it is. It is, no, actually this is lemon balm. All right, my mistake. But it's doing really nicely in the freezes, or in the freeze so far. And the lavender is doing wonderfully. I'm not gonna worry about it. These small onions, they're great. No worries there. Also, the rosemary hasn't shown one sign of frostbite issue, anything. So that's great. And the sage is perfectly fine. No issue there. This here, oh, let's see if there's a marker on it. Italian oregano is doing just fine. No issue there. And I think this is another one of what's on the other side. Let's see here. It's just so beautiful and soft and plush. No issues. My Italian parsley is finally doing really well. The freeze did not bother it one bit. Kind of laughed at it. I'm glad it's getting full and not spindly like my cilantro is over there. I'm really liking that my dill has not shown any ill effect. It's actually going to flower here. First time really growing dill, and it's bushed out very nicely. It's doing fine, no issues there. Of course, these other peppers, another lavender, that one's really spread out. This plant here, I couldn't find the marker for it and I can't remember the name, but it also laughed at the freeze. It's doing great. If anything, it's blooming more. And my kohlrabi here seems to be fine. These greens are fine. I also found out that my camellia, the one with the pink bloom that I was really concerned about initially, it actually can withstand temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, sometimes 5. So I'm very relieved about that. She was rough looking before we put her in the ground. Should have gotten her in the ground a little bit sooner, but she's fine. The bloom is continuing to come along with no issue. So, and there's a couple others that are pushing. So I'm really relieved about this one. Now for the greenhouse. Y'all remember when I shared with you that we had a storm that we didn't even hear in the night not too long ago, and it picked the greenhouse up and moved it? Well, because it's supposed to get windy this coming weekend, what I've decided to do, it's a temporary and a meager attempt at keeping it in place, but I'm going to drive stakes, a couple stakes along the wall here on this side, and then do the same thing on the other side. Just the gardening stakes here. Just the regular, this one's a 4-foot gardening stake. Hopefully it will help. Obviously we know that when the weather moves, it will do what it will, but this is something that may be a measure we can take to help keep it in place. So there's a couple more things we're gonna do, a few more. I've decided to go ahead and cover my garlic vine and the plant that's in front of it, and a little bit of the bougainvillea right over there. Today things look a bit rough. See, there's my garlic vine. It's gotten quite yellow. And here's how the bougainvillea looks. Pretty fried. I don't really want it getting more damaged. So we will do a few odds and ends in addition to what we've shown so far. But that's the bulk of our getting ready for the freeze. Hopefully it will be enough and do what we need it to do. What we're planning on is we'll post this video today, Friday, and then after we'll be recording through the freeze and how all of that goes, and then post that sometime Sunday so that you can be updated as to how our measures added up. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep smiling, and I hope all of your preparations for the freeze, if you're in Central Florida 9B, prove successful, and take care.